Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 buffs and 10 nerfs that warrant to the best and the worst brawlers in the game. So the update cycle is around a couple of weeks away, so these are the balance changes which I really want to see. And typically around update time, we see more meaningful buffs and nerfs. So we're going to be taking a look at the buffs first, so the worst brawlers in the game, and we're going to be starting off with probably the worst brawler in the game, which is Frank. So I talk about Frank buffs for about 2 years now. I'll just like anything at this point. More than likely, they're going to rework him pretty soon. But for me, I would either just reduce the attack delay with Frank. I know that's the big reason why he's just terrible, because good players will just punish his really slow attack. Or they just need to just buff him in another way, just quickly, because he's just absolutely unusable. Maybe just buff his active noise cancellation duration just a little bit. I don't know, just give him a little bit of love, because just leaving him in this state, it's just depressing. So the next brawler I want to see a buff with is our favorite winner man, Doug. So I know what you're thinking. Doug received a buff, and I thought he was going to be one of the better brawlers in the game, but it was clear to me that the map pool really influenced my opinion on Doug, whether he was strong or not. So I think he needs another buff, quite clearly, especially with the healing bug as well. He felt like such a good brawler when he could actually heal. 1,200 healing per shot is nothing, so they should just heal, well, buff that healing stat. I know they like to keep the numbers pretty smooth with 2,400 damage and 1,200 healing, but just buff it an extra 400, extra 500. It's not going to hurt anyone, and Doug needs that extra healing definitely. Next brawler I want to see a buff with is with Hank, the milkman himself. So I've always said about Hank that I would like some type of healing mechanic within his kit. You literally take a look at Angelo, who's the sniper version of Hank, and he's got that empower star power, which makes him so strong. Why can't Hank have something like that in his build? So they need to remove take cover. It's absolutely terrible. The design about it is horrible. It doesn't work too well. So I think just replacing that star power with a healing star power, I don't know what it could be, but my thinking is maybe when he fully charges his bubble, he receives X amount of healing. Just something around his kit needs healing. The next terrible brawler I want to see a buff with is with Chester. So I just want a tiny buff for him, because of course if he becomes meta and competitive, it can be pretty toxic. But at the same time, I feel like now people understand Chester enough that I don't really mind him being in competitive. So I just want the smallest buff to him, because we saw just how broken he was on release. We don't want to revert him back to that state. Right now it takes 1.9 seconds to fully reload. Why not just buff it a tiny bit? 1.8 seconds. I feel like that's where I always get caught, is where I spam out like 2-3 attacks and then I'm caught reloading that next attack every single time. So just a small reload buff would be nice. So moving on to the next brawler I want to see a small buff with is with Crow. So I know Crow is only just became not meta, which is nice. I don't like it when Crow is meta. It's pretty toxic, but he is on the weaker side. Pros have played him 0 times in the recent competitive events, so I'll just like for him to get a small buff to his defense booster gadget. I know some people say it's underrated, but I just think it's flat out terrible. It doesn't really provide too much value. So at least if they buff it by an extra 10%, you can get a lot more value out of your super. So next on the list we have Maisie. So I think she's a fairly balanced brawler right now. She can definitely have those pop-off moments in Brawl and on ladder, but on ranked I just never see Maisie anymore. Again, she was literally the best brawler in the game, or one of them, for a very long time. So I feel like we should just take this time where she's balanced and just rework her star power, pinpoint precision. So it just completely doesn't make sense. Maybe rework it so her main attack just shoots a little bit faster. I don't know, they just need to rework this because it's never used. Next on the buff wish list we have Lou. So Lou, I would say people aren't talking about enough. He's actually really underwhelming right now. Again, another brawler that we've just never seen in monthly finals whatsoever. And I think he needs a little bit of love. So they heavily nerfed him 4 months ago, making it so it takes 8 hits instead of 7 hits to get super, or just 7 hits with supercharged gear respectively. I would actually like to see a revert to this. I know people won't like it because you can still cycle through your hypercharged supers, but at the same time they should just nerf his hypercharge rate instead, because again he's so lackluster. It takes so long to build up your super, and he's not even the greatest in hot zone right now. Next up we have Daryl. So even though he received a projectile speed buff a couple of months ago, it literally did nothing to him. He's still a D tier brawler. So I would say Daryl at the very least needs some love to his kit overall. One of his star powers, one of his gadgets, one of them just needs a buff, because overall his kit is just terrible. It's so lackluster, so definitely some love in that department. But I would like to see another kind of interesting change with him. So that projectile speed buff was interesting. I would like to see a buff maybe to the supercharge gained from super. So when you hit someone with your super, maybe it charges like 1/3 of his super overall. So he's allowed to get a little bit more mobility. He's able to fly around the map much easier, because if you compare him to other assassins out there like Buzz, Mortis, Miko, they can just get around the map so much quicker. And poor Daryl, he's just a sitting duck. So next on the buff wish list, we have a Tara. So nobody's talking about Tara's fall off as well. Another brawler that was only picked a handful of times in monthlies, only on maps like Double Swoosh. So I would like to see a buff to Tara, but I just don't want the same generic buff that all of these kind of mid-range brawlers get with a damage buff. I don't want that. I would actually like a pet HP buff. So if you rewind back to the update where all of the brawler stats changed with power 11, their pets HP didn't actually get buffed. I'm not talking about support from beyond. I don't want to see the gadget buffed. I'm talking about Black Portal and Healing Shade. It's still, both of these are pretty squishy. I feel like if they buff the HP with these star powers, Tara would be a little bit more of a threat. Lastly on the buff wish list, we have a Bull. So another brawler that completely fell off since the hypercharge nerf. It really affected him because Bull really relied on cycling through his hypercharge, getting multiple supers and just destroying the enemy team. He can't do that anymore, and he's not even that great of an option in Heist right now. I know the map will probably affect him, but still, I'd like for him to be usable outside of Heist. So the generic one that everyone talks about is making Stomper baseline, which would be good. But if they're not thinking about doing that, maybe they could just increase his speed whilst he's supering. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but the thing about Bull is that he's so predictable when you super. So maybe if he gets to that endpoint quicker, then he can, I don't know, make more plays. Let me know what you think of that. I'm just trying to think of something a little bit different. Now we're going to be moving on to the nerf wish list, taking a look at some of the best brawlers in the game, and hopefully some of these will at least receive a nerf, and especially these first few. So this first one is going to be with Melody. She's the newest brawler in the game. People haven't really picked up how to play her just yet, but I feel like once people give her a little bit more time, you realize just how broken she is. I knew it as soon as I laid my hands on her, but people are saying she's more high skill cap, but just learn how to use her. Just play her a few games and you'll know just how broken she is. So the biggest thing about her that's broken, in my opinion, is her interlude gadget. It just, like the fact that you can shoot spawner balls, build up your notes, and then get a 45% shield with a dashing ability as well. That's like giving Mortis a Gust Shield, for example. That's how strong it is. So I think we should nerf it to around 10% instead. That would be nice. I would actually like more nerfs to her, maybe with her base HP as well, or maybe with her supercharge rate. But I feel like, again, people haven't really learned how to use her, so she's not as broken to most people. So just one nerf will do for now. So the next brawler I'm hoping they pretty much kill with the next update, it is Angelo. So he is just so annoying. I feel like in a 3v3 setting, you can counter him, but it really takes the right composition to counter this annoying mosquito. But in ranked, he's just broken. He's just unkillable. So there's multiple things we need to nerf him by. So the first one definitely is with the poison damage, or something to do with his super. The fact that he can pretty much one-shot every brawler in the game is just disgusting. Either they can nerf his main attack damage or just nerf the poison. One or the other. His damage needs to be nerfed in some type of capacity. It's just crazy to me. The next is with his movement speed. Again, some people will disagree with me, but it's just too cheesy. A very fast movement speed with a sniper brawler that can fly across water. To me, that doesn't sit straight. He can just literally counter sharpshooters by his movement speed himself. So again, I don't really like that. Maybe you guys don't want that to be nerfed, but I can agree with you with it for sure. And then the last one, I would even like another nerf to his super charge rate. So it only takes 2 hits to get his super right now. Maybe just nerf it to around 2.5 hits, 2.2 hits. I don't know. I feel like you cycle through supers so quickly, and then you can just get the healing through the Empower Star Power. It makes him so busted at the highest of elos. So next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Larry and Lori. So these brawlers have been terrorizing the meta for a long time, but I feel like right now they're not really that toxic, but it's still such a good pick in rank, so they need to be toned down just a little bit. So for me, I'd like to see some type of change to the second explosion on their attack. So people are saying that they don't want to add like an attack delay to that second explosion because it gives you more area control, but at the same time, at least it allows you to escape the second explosion. It just feels like it's you hit by it every single time. So maybe they could just nerf the radius of it. I don't know. I just like to see some type of rework to it because it's still too cheesy. Next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Charlie. So I just hope they kill Charlie with this update. Seriously, she's been so busted for the longest time. I could do with a break for 2 months. Please, Supercell, just a couple of nerfs should be able to turn her down. So the first one I'm hoping is to her spiders gadget. The fact that you can spam 4 sets of spiders and win lane is just ridiculous to me. I think we need to nerf the HP, nerf the duration, so maybe after 5 seconds they completely die out. I don't know, so like the health decay, for example. they need to nerf it. It's way too strong. The next one I would like to see is with her supercharge rate. I would like a small nerf to that. I think it's 6 hits right now. Nerf it to 7. That will do because, again, she still cycles her super too fast. And the last one I would like to see, which will have the biggest impact, just a small range nerf. I don't think Charlie suits like being able to play her on open maps, like on Shooting Star, Hideout. I don't get how Charlie should work on those maps. She can pretty much hold her own against some of the best sharpshooters in the game. So to me, that doesn't make sense. So just a small attack range would be, a small nerf to the attack range would be nice. Next up, we have Leon. So he's still one of the best brawlers in the game right now, even after the nerf that they tried with him in the last update. I would actually like a different nerf now. I think they need to focus on the hypercharge itself. I know it takes much longer to get it, but I still feel like once you pop hypercharge, it's just way too strong of a hypercharge. It's literally the best in the game. I think you should be able to reveal the Leon's position if you shoot him. I believe when the Leon's supered normally, if you shoot him, you will reveal him for like a split second or something. You can't do that with the hypercharge. He stays invisible no matter what. That's just crazy to me. So I need to nerf that. Or if they don't want to just remove that ability, it might make it too weak. I think they need to nerf the damage heavily with it. I mean, they can add speed, they can do all the other things, but the damage boost with the hypercharge is far too much. It just allows you to shred through people at close range. So I'd like to see that toned down a little bit, and it'll be a bit more balanced. Next up, we have Piper. So Piper, even though she's received a couple of nerfs for the last update, she's still way too strong right now. So I would like something else to be addressed. I feel like Piper can just counter everything with her build. So I would like for them to focus on her auto aimer gadget. It's not a broken gadget, but it still is too cheesy. So one nerf that they could do is make it so you don't receive any ammo back if you hit the auto aimer gadget. I know that's kind of like a fun thing I've always liked over the years, but auto aimer itself is too cheesy with that. You can tap your gadget, push them back, slow them, and then get another like 0.4 of ammo. Then you hit them again. You basically got a full ammo back as quickly as that. Or they can remove the slow effect from something. I don't know. They just need to make her a little bit weaker to assassins, because she pretty much hyper counts assassins right now. So next on the list, we have Cordelius. So I'm kind of sick again of seeing Mushroom Man everywhere. Ever since his introduction in the game, he's been a top meta brawler. So I'd like to see a nerf to him. Again, I'm not too sure how to really touch his kit without making him terrible. I feel like if you nerfed him too much, he would literally be one of the worst brawlers in the game. So I'll just like a small nerf, just a HP nerf. It's boring, but nerfing it by about 300 to 400 means it's a little bit more squishy. It means it's a little bit harder to make those plays. So next up, we have Amber. So I'm hoping that they nerf her Dancing Flames gadget damage just a little bit. The main reason being is, again, just like Piper, with Amber, you can just switch around her build too much to counter pretty much everything in the game. Her main weakness was brawlers up close, but then Dancing Flames makes it so you have no weaknesses. So nerfing this damage to like 1,900, 1,800, I think is pretty good. I think people probably were just underrating the gadget, to be honest, because again, I feel like you should be able to counter Amber, but you can't with this Dancing Flames gadget. So next up on the list, we have Buster. So even though he receives a nerf pretty much every update, I still feel like he needs another nerf. He's still too strong, especially in a really, I don't know, in a good team setting. You can really make use of Buster. So I think we should nerf him one of two ways. Maybe we should make it so your automatic charging super circle, it takes longer to charge your super from your allies. That is a really cheesy strategy. I feel like that could be nerfed. Or they simply need to nerf his slow-mo replay even more. The gadget is a free kill every single time. It's so strong, especially because Buster's main attack range is still pretty large. So I think they could just nerf the pull strength, so it doesn't like pull you literally into Buster's maximum damage. That would be pretty nice. Lastly on the list, we have Belle. So I wouldn't like for Belle to be nerfed. I think she'll just get a little bit worse when other brawlers get hypercharges. But if he was to nerf her, this is the point of the video, maybe just nerfing her positive feedback by 5%. Again, it's like a meaningless nerf, but if you wanted to nerf Belle for whatever reason, that would probably be the only option. I don't think anything else really needs to be nerfed about her. Her hypercharge isn't broken. I don't know, she's a pretty non-toxic brawler in my opinion. Probably people might say you might need like a small damage nerf, but that's about it with Belle. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. So again, I was taking a look at the worst 10 brawlers and the best 10 brawlers in the game. So I just wanted to look at the ways we can balance them. Of course, I don't want like balances with every single one of these brawlers. That's not how you do balance changes, but they're just suggestions in case, I don't know, Adrian or someone in the dev team is watching this. But yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.